Welsh Assembly. I would now like to move on to our... Thank you. I would now like to move on to our next two speakers. We've got a double act, I think, coming up, and that is Peter Whittle and David Curtin, who are both going to be talking on the subject of working in the Greater London Assembly. Peter or David?
Okay, all right. We are a double act. Actually, you know, we're a double act. I'm sure David won't mind me saying this, but for reasons I'm sure you know, we're also the most diverse team in the whole of the London Assembly. I wanted to start, though, ladies and gentlemen, talk a bit about our conference and the leadership campaign, because it was a very long one. It went on for about two and a half months, I think. And I think in total we did about something like 18 different hustings. And all over the country, where I went and where David went, and there were audiences of something like, 100 people here, 150 people there, 160 people there. And, what that showed, and we shouldn't have to worry about what the media say, but what that showed was an extraordinary, strong, beating heart in this party. And, I think you would agree, looking at us this weekend, where we've had, I think, an extraordinarily good conference so far. This is a strong party with a real beating heart. No one should ever deny that. And to see all those people turning out was great. They were concerned about the future of the party. But what I would say to you is this morning I feel full of optimism, and I hope you do too. Yeah. Oh, it's here. We've got a great new campaign, and we've got a great new logo. I love For the Nation. As Neil just said, a nation, a country is not just a balance sheet, like the Tories tend to think it is. And it's sort of not either a sort of terrible, guilt-ridden place, the sort that Labour wants it to be. We are a real nation, and we are the only party that will be for the nation, our nation. And finally, we have a great new leader in Henry Bolton, a really talented man. And, I think what a way to start what is a new era for us. We are more important than ever. You've heard it a lot this weekend. It cannot be said enough. We are having a slow betrayal, and we have got to act, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to get behind our new leader, and we have got to get out there with this campaign and fight for the future and the democracy and the culture of this great country. But anyway, that notwithstanding, we are here to talk about the London Assembly. David and I, we are, your ambassadors to the People's Republic of London. And when we arrived a year ago, more than a year ago, I think they thought we would actually sort of have our knuckles dangling on the floor like that, And I think that they've grown to actually respect us there. And I think that's because we have really established a very constructive way of working with what is, in essence, an absolute microcosm of the London elite, right? So, for example, David is on certain committees. I'm on certain committees. My one is crime, not crime and punishment, actually, policing and crime. I wish it were crime and punishment, but that's a bit unfashionable at the moment. But when it comes to all the kind of issues that we have to talk about in the Assembly, and there are many, and we go across housing, we go across transport, we go across the health service, all of these things, what becomes clear is that one of the main problems at the basis of a lot of those individual issues is the effect of mass uncontrolled migration. Now, who knew? We all know this. It is absolutely common sense. But at the same time, what you find in the London Assembly is there's this massive grey elephant that sits in that rather ugly building. Nobody will mention it. Nobody will mention it. So when you're talking about housing, if you bring up the fact that about 1 million people are being added to London's population every 10 years, that is sort of a no-no. You can't do that. You can't talk about that when you're talking about increased congestion on the London transport system. You can't do that. You can't do it, you can't mention it at all, except for if you're UKIP, and then we do. But what I would say to you is that when, in fact, whether it's in London or wherever it is, we have, ladies and gentlemen, got to own this issue again. Because the truth is, it's being kicked into the long grass, right? There isn't the will amongst the other parties to do anything about it. There's actually, if you like, an anti-will when it comes to the Labour Party. They don't see any problem with it at all. They don't think it drives down wages. They don't think it makes any difference to the housing stock, all of these things, all of which offends basic common sense, right? And we are the common sense party. But we continue to make these points in the London Assembly. The way it works is that we're on these committees, but also we have question time with Sadiq Khan, the mayor. Yeah. And basically we have a certain amount of time, we can put our questions, we can have lots of written questions too. But considering that we are new, and considering as well that we were going in there and they were all sort of rather, hiding their faces from us, I think we have proved to be a considerable success there. I'm not trying to be complacent there, ladies and gentlemen, because we've got to do much, much more. But I would say to you that if you use London as an example when it comes to migration, it's the same for the whole country. We have got to get back this issue. We have got to get control of our borders as a matter of urgency. Nobody else is going to do it. Nobody. But if we are concerned not just about those economic issues, but also about our identity and our culture, and what is wrong with that? What is wrong with that? We absolutely have to stand up for proper, firm migration control. No one else is going to do it. Now, we are doing a double act, so I've got a limited amount of time. I just wanted to mention one of the committees I'm on, which, as I said, is the Police and Crime Committee. London has really had the most shocking time of it this year with these terrorist attacks. But, there is a feeling. There's a feeling of a lack of will to do what the government, whether it be in London or whether it be the national government, should really do, and that is protect its citizens. Where is the will to do this? Now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't mean to be mean, and if people want to have vigils and sing songs, that's fine. But it's not enough. It's not enough. This government and the government should absolutely put the protection and the safety of our citizens first. It is not good enough to keep saying London will not be defeated, London will stay united, it won't be frightened. Well, I'm afraid there are a lot of people in London now who are very frightened, quite understandably. We've got to be rigorous about this. And I know that we in the London Assembly will continue to make these points. But we have to, as well as a party, we cannot let these things become the new normal. And they are becoming the new normal. Also, I would say that when I sit on the Crime and Police Committee, we talk a hell of a lot about hate crime. Now, Steve was very, very good on this yesterday, and he really explained it. But I would like to reiterate it, because Sadiq Khan has set up some kind of hate crime registry, where basically you monitor what people say online. Well, that is, okay, there's a place maybe for that or whatever, but not, as it were, substitution for real action against terrorism and what I consider to be real hate crimes. And that's bombs, and that's shootings, and that is people being basically attacked simply because of what they are. The problem with hate crime is very, very simple, actually, and it's about definition. Steve said it yesterday, but I must say it again. It is one of the few crimes, if not the only crime, where no evidence is needed. No evidence is needed. Do you remember there was a professor who decided that he was going to basically report the Theresa May, I think, or Amber Rudd for hate crime? Do you remember that case? Basically because he happened to have heard of a speech she had made on television, which he hadn't even seen, right? The point I'm making is that however absurd that sounds to you, that is absolutely above and within the spirit of the law as it stands. It can be anybody. It doesn't have to be you. You don't have to even think, I've just been the victim of a hate crime. It could be someone else over there in the audience who says, oh, someone's just told me someone thinks he's been the victim of a hate crime. Then you go on to the statistics. So basically, a hate incident, if you like, immediately becomes part of these hate crime statistics. So no wonder, suddenly, they all seem to be going through the roof. But I would say to you this, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, we've got to change that definition. We have got to get the wheels of the legal systems going to change and tighten that particular definition. But at the same time, what we must stand up against is this idea that somehow hate crime, whether it's in London or around the country, was some kind of obvious and inevitable consequence of Brexit. This is what they actually want to believe, so they've made it happen. Exactly. Well, put it this way. The fact is with hate crime is that, it's become one of those things whereby if you want to somehow speak out against it, you are a hater. You are a hater. This is wrong. We cannot allow them to own the language in this way, ladies and gentlemen. Because also, I would say this finally about it, is that it is a massive insult to a public that is particularly tolerant and particularly unbigoted. It's a huge insult, in other words, to the nation. Finally, one thing that we are doing at the moment in the London Assembly, and I think this is going to become a huge issue, is we are championing the whole idea of basically giving people who vote a voice and getting rid of this appalling, corrupt, old system which is just keeping up two parties like two dead bodies. So this week we heard from Kleiner yesterday from Make Votes Matter. In the London Assembly we've got a big cross-party event happening. It's very, very well subscribed in an attempt to actually highlight this issue again. How many times have you heard 4 million votes, 1 MP? But also, as we saw in Germany last week, 94 MPs with roughly the same proportion of votes as we had. And even on the result of the last general election, which was poor, of course, for us, at the same time, we still would have had 11 MPs if we had a fairer system. We must make this an absolute priority. Now, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to hand over now to my colleague David, who's going to talk about the various different issues that he particularly works with. But once again, I say to you, what a great conference, what a great new beginning. And ladies and gentlemen, let's all go forward together. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Great to see you. And I'm very glad that Peter there mentioned hate crime, because I am the victim of a hate crime. And I did something last week that I've never done before. I actually reported a hate crime to the police. You see, on Twitter, I get a lot of messages on Twitter, but a couple of weeks ago, someone wrote to me, "F off, you effing fascist fish-faced kipper." Okay, I thought that was quite amusing. So normally I wouldn't do anything about it, but I looked at the lady's profile, and it actually seemed it was a lady. Yes, it was. Believe it or not, you know, ladies. But the lady in question looks very much like she was a member of the Labour Party. I can't say for sure, but she had a lot of Labour logos all over her page. And it also seemed as though she was actually a policewoman. Now, again, I can't say for certain, but she had on her email was the address of the main address was of a police service in the country. So I thought, well, I normally wouldn't do anything about this, but as this is a Labour policewoman, probably, it appears so. I don't want to say anything that will get me into trouble. I thought, well, I will report this because I'm a victim. So I went onto the police website where you can report it, and they give you a list of categories that you can, to say what kind of special status you have, what special minority characteristics do you have. So are you LGBT? No. Are you a Muslim? No. Are you black? Yes. Okay, I'm a victim. So... So, right, great. So I tick the box, and then it says, give any information, and I say, this lady called me a fascist fish face skipper, which is really not true, because I'm obviously not a fascist. I don't have a standing army. I'm not anti-Semitic. I believe in freedom of speech, and I'm certainly not a white supremacist. I mean, look at my face. So, you know, it was a little bit ridiculous, but there we go. I put it in, I said, you know, this is obviously because of my beliefs, because I'm a member of UKIP, and this is probably why she called me this. And so I clicked that, and the next page says, would you like the police to call you and give you some victim support counselling? So, yes, I need some counselling. I'm very upset. Click send, and I haven't heard anything back, so I'm still waiting because I do need that counselling to get better. Yeah. But honestly, seriously, there are serious crimes, and we do have a lot of growing anti-Semitism in London. On the London Assembly, we get a chance to question the mayor about all of these issues. We have mayor's question time once a month that Peter mentioned. We also have a session called a plenary session, which doesn't involve the mayor, but we get to question other people, such as the police and crime commissioner and so on. And at the end of the plenary sessions, assembly members can put forward motions, and these motions tell the public and tell the mayor what the assembly thinks. Now, we've put forward 3 or 4 motions since we've been there. When we walked into the assembly on the very first day, it seems like a long time ago, doesn't time fly? It was a strange place to walk into, as Peter said. It's like a microcosm of the London elite. But outside of the City Hall building, there are 3 flagpoles. And before the current mayor took his seat, there was a Union Jack, there was the flag of England, the cross of St. George, and there was another flagpole which rotated. Now, when this current mayor came in, as I'm sure you know his name, Mr. Sadiq Khan, what he decided to do was take down the flag of St. George and put up the flag of the European Union. And of course, we thought that was a very bad idea. So we put in a motion in the plenary session saying this assembly believes you should remove the flag of the European Union and replace it with the flag of St. George, the flag of England, to fly alongside the Union Jack. But we were defeated by 15 votes to 2. Shows you what we're up against in London. but we'll still make a stand. But Mr. Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, now says he wants that flag to stay up there forever. Well, not on my watch. We'll come down because we will leave in a timely manner, indeed. Now, another motion that we put in the plenary session concerned another flag, because every year there is a march through the streets of London on something called Al-Quds Day. Now, Al-Quds is the Arabic word for Jerusalem, that's all it means. But on this day, there's a march for Hezbollah. And people march through the streets of London with the Hezbollah flag, which has a gun on it. And on this day, you can quite often see posters and banners and chants which are obviously anti-Semitic. It's not on in London. Not on anywhere. Now, I questioned the Mayor about this, actually in the Mayor's question time in July 2016, soon after we got there. I said, will you write to the Home Secretary to ask her to prescribe the whole of Hezbollah as a terrorist organisation? Because there is a loophole at the moment where the military part is prescribed, but the political part is allowed. Different to the United States, Australia, France, the Netherlands, even the Arab League prescribes the whole of Hezbollah as a terrorist organisation. We said, will you write to her, put some pressure on her to close this loophole? And he obfuscated and gave a very soapy hand wash answer and said, well, I'll think about it, sort of. Nothing happened. We asked again, nothing happened. But then we got some of the Labour Assembly members to support us. And when they started talking about it, he changed his mind. And this is incredible because last month he actually said he would do that. He would write to her to try and get the whole of Hezbollah prescribed, to do something to stop people being able to do an anti-Semitic march through the streets of London carrying a flag with a gun on it. And this is the great thing that has happened. And it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for UKIP. Now, we've got another 2.5 years left. We will make the most of those, and we will keep putting the pressure on the mayor, and we will keep making sure that he represents all the people of London, because when he was elected, he got 1.1 million votes. Now, he's a Ramona-in-chief, but he has to remember, in the referendum, yes, more people in London voted to stay in the European Union than to leave, but more people voted to leave than voted for him to be the mayor. And we represent those 1.5 million people, and we will carry on doing so. Thank you very much. See you later.